Over a year ago, COVID first hit us. The demand for respiratory protection of any kind was enormous. The disposable N95 respirator inventory supply was also large, and what happened was the supply could not keep up with demand. In any event, we also had supply shortages for products that were made over in Asia. So what we did was, as a solution, we marketed and offered our N95 reusable half mask solution, available in 3 different mask materials, but I'm holding the 400 series in my hand, made out of a unique elastomeric rubber formulation. Also available in the 100 silicone series and a 300 thermoplastic rubber series as well. And it was a great success, and we were able to deliver a large volume of inventory to those in need. In August, September of 2020, the CDC came out with the new guidelines for using reusable half mask respirators in the healthcare and frontline worker environments. And they stated one of the important things was that you should not be using a respirator with an exhalation valve, because it could cause the transmission of asymptomatic healthcare provider to the patient and the environment around them. So as you can see, these masks have an exhalation valve. And now what we did, and we created and developed very quickly the Comfort Air NX series half mask respirators. As you can see, NX stands for no exhalation valve. We've removed the exhalation valve in order to comply with the CDC guidelines. The NX series, Comfort Air NX, is the black version, and it's intended for general industry. And how that works is that we've seen over the last several months companies, factories, warehouses, food processing operations, and so forth having to shut down because COVID has spread through the environment. This mask is intended, this color is intended to be used for those applications to keep people working where social distancing is a challenge. The NXMD, MD stands for healthcare, frontline workers, and so forth. The white color also is intended for that market. You can see dirt, debris, and other body fluids that may be on the mask in order to clean it properly. And one of the key things that we wanted to do with the NX series is we wanted to make it important so that you could visually see that there's no exhalation valve. We want to ensure that supervisors, managers, or people, when they're working in the environment, at a glance can tell someone is wearing the right protection in a very serious setting. Another reason we wanted to go with white for the healthcare market, particularly hospital environments and patient care, we want to be able to write a message on the mask. We all saw on the TV and other forms of media horrific pictures of patients in great distress with COVID, doctors and nurses looming over them with respirators, face shields, gowns, bouffants, and there was no way to communicate with them because they couldn't see their mouths and so forth. So we thought the white mask would allow people to put a certain type of message, identify the nurse's name, for example here, Nurse Judy or Dr. Bob. Also, you can engage by putting a message on it. I care for you, we're here for you. And also, if you want, you're working with children, or just to try to bring a smile to the patient in distress, you can put a smiley face or other types of messaging on the mask in order to help give some type of comfort to the patient. First, let's talk about the face piece itself. Both the Comfort Air NX being black and the NXMD being the white one I have in my hands are made out of unique rubber, elastomeric rubber formulation that we have been working on to develop, and as you can see, is very soft to the touch. It will be more comfortable than wearing any disposable respirators, and we have experiments that we've conducted thermal temperature testing inside the mask through various activities to show that the heat buildup inside the face piece isn't as great as that in a disposable respirator. Now, the face piece itself is very low profile and compact. In a medical setting, why that's important, you don't want any interference between the caregiver, the healthcare worker, and the patient. And we want a nice, tight, compact design. As you can see here, from front to back, side to side, it doesn't occupy a great amount of your face like many competitor products do. The low profile design will also allow the individual, when they're looking down, caring for a patient, it won't interfere with their line of sight. An important consideration when selecting respiratory protection is having the availability of multiple sizes. And disposable respirators, there are limitations as to the number of manufacturers that offer a variety of sizes in that family of products. With our NX series respirators, we have two sizes. In my right hand, I have a small medium, and in my left hand, you'll see here I have a medium large. Structurally, they're anatomically shaped differently to accommodate the requirements of smaller, more petite sized faces. In the small medium, as you can see here, we have a wider, flatter sealing surface that touches the skin. It allows us to accommodate and get proper fitting on individuals that might have a flatter nose, a more flatter face or wider face. In the medium large family, as you can see here, it's a completely different shape. And again, it allows us to fit people in a larger face size, maybe a little bit bigger nose and so forth. So sizing is an absolute must, particularly when dealing against a virus such as COVID, as we have been and continue to do so. We need to ensure that we have a complete airtight seal before we go into that working environment. We have all heard in the media and seen pictures of healthcare providers who have indentations, red irritating mark, bleeding across the nose, complaining about the discomfort of ear loop mask and KN95 type respirators as well. Well, with the NX series respirators, we have a nylon suspension harness with a soft cradle suspension that fits over the crown, and there's 8 points of adjustment on this. On either side of the crown straps, you can open or close the suspension. Why that's important is for people with a lot of hair that have to put their hair up in a bun or have to put a bouffant hair cap on. What it allows it to do is to sit in a natural position, and it eliminates the discomfort completely. We also have another 2 points of adjustment, as you'll see here at the top of the cradle that touches the mask, mounts to the mask. We have another 2 here at the bottom. So this is a strap that fits over the ear and across the crown, and this is a strap that goes behind your neck. And then finally, we have another 2 points of adjustment that are back here, that when you clip it behind your neck, it allows you complete adjustability that'll stay in place when you put the mask on and when you take it off. There's also another important point about our respirator is that you can replace the parts. And so when you're disinfecting and cleaning, you can take the mask apart, and it's very simple. You have the suspension system that detaches from the front housing, and then you have the inhalation valves, inhalation-exhalation valves. You got to get used to calling it that now. And there you have it. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. All of these pieces can be replaced as needed. The part that's going to require replacement more often is the strap. Over a period of time, you're going to see the strap lose its elasticity, especially if there's multiple washing and cleaning. But at the end of the day, you can replace the parts and elongate the life of the product. One of the reasons our product performs so well and doesn't have heat buildup inside the face piece and allows you to communicate effectively is that we have very large inhalation-exhalation ports. Our ports are bigger than a quarter. Next nearest competitor is a nickel, and the leading market share competitor is the size of a dime. What that means for us is that it allows us to bring in more air per breath, but in the NX version without the exhalation valve, it also means we can push out more air easily through this filter. So what we're doing is providing two-way filtration, and I'll show you how that works when we put the filter on. Aside from removing the exhalation valve on our respirator, another key modification we had to make was designing a new exhalation valve cover that holds the N95 filter pad in it. This is our industrial or original design of our N95 filter pad cover and holder. And as you can see here, it's got these rings that allows air to flow through. It also protects the filter from the environment. However, when we plugged up the hole, we were concerned about breathing resistance, temperature buildup, and so forth. And so what we had to do was redesign that. And as you can see, it's very different in shape. We've got a smaller opening, but what we've done is increase the height of the dome. And what we accomplish by making what you think might be a minor modification is we have reduced our breathing resistance versus this mask in accordance to the NIOSH testing requirements, both when you breathe in and when you breathe out. And believe it or not, we've also reduced our breathing resistance probably 40% lower than using a disposable style N95 respirator without an exhalation valve. And that's quite an accomplishment. We did experiments to then measure the temperature inside the mask when you're conducting various types of physical activity. And we have been able to determine that this mask, without an exhalation valve, while you think it's more uncomfortable, it's heavier, and it might be hotter or more difficult to breathe through, is in fact it's not versus a disposable respirator. The temperature buildup inside our Comfort Series NX Series respirators is no hotter than wearing a disposable respirator. In addition, what you've seen and will see through various tests that we're doing here through this video process is the communication is very similar to wearing a disposable N95 respirator or a surgical style mask without an exhalation valve. And that's important, of course, for patient and caregiver interaction. Also, design the filter cover so you can't touch it. So a human hand cannot touch the filter where the virus is trapped on. So this extra ring that we put in here, it prevents physical touch from the outside, and it's also you can't touch it from the inside if you take it off. That way we can ensure that the filter traps the virus and there's no transmission, physical transmission. In addition, this filter cover is designed so that you can quickly wipe it down with a disinfectant wipe between patient interactions, if that's the protocol, but you can clean it very quickly and efficiently. Another important feature of the opening is we have this ring around the opening, and it's a smaller opening than our other series of filter covers for the N95. And the purpose of this size diameter opening is it allows anyone, regardless of the size of the hand, even with small hands, to seal the filter cover in order to conduct a positive or a negative seal check. That can be done every time you put the mask on to ensure that you're properly fitted before you go into an environment where the virus might exist. And when you do have to remove the filter, it's recommended, it should be recommended depending on what your protocol is, you should have your gloves on your hand just in case. And what you'll do is you'll take your forefinger, you'll insert it into the back of the housing, as you can see here, and you just pull it apart. You can take the filter, as you can see here, pinch it, and you can dispose of it according to your company protocol. When we put our N95 filter inside the housing, here's the process to follow. The cream side faces out, the white side faces into the mask, and you place it in the filter cover, which has this opening in the front, as you'll see. You then take the base of it, and you simply snap it into position, as you'll see here. Now, I've got an effective seal, and it's in position. Now I'm going to show you how you mount the filter housing to our respirator. And as you'll see, where the inhalation-exhalation port is, it's a wheel with 3 spokes. And you can mount the cartridge in 3 different positions strategically because the hole on our round cartridge is off-centered. Okay? And you won't be able to see this close up, folks, but trust me, there's an arrow and there's a line on the top of the cartridge housing here. And what you do, I'm going to put in position 1. The mask is marked with position 1, 2, or 3 on either side of the mask. Position 1 points into the nose, that's the spoke there. Position 2, the spoke points to the ear. And position 3 points to the chin. I'm going to mount both of these cartridges in position 1 just to show you the differences. So you take the line that you can see on the cartridge, you align it with the spoke or the position you want to put it into. You have to give it friction by supporting the back of the inhalation-exhalation valve on the mask. Press down and it's a quarter turn right, and you'll feel it snap into place. So it's either on or it's off. There's no guessing if you fitted it properly. So let me put both of them in position one, and let me explain the different positions to you. So position one, as you can see, it takes the cartridge and it sweeps it back out of the way. When we're working and walking around, this provides great downward visibility. If we're caring for a patient, we're always looking downward, and it won't interfere, obstruct our vision. So we don't have to look over our mask by bending our neck. I'm now going to change the cartridge position and put it in position two to show you the unique difference. I'm going to leave this cartridge on the left in position one, cartridge two, the cartridge on the right hand side is in position two. And as you can see, it's moved the cartridge in towards the center of the mask. And I'm going to now change this other cartridge into position two to show you what we believe is probably the most compact position to mount both cartridges in a patient care setting. As you can see, both cartridges are in tight. They don't swing back out of the way. And when you put it on, there's no interference with your line of sight as well as you're looking down. There have been instances reported where hospitals were using reusable half-mask respirators, and when they engaged with the patient, they were up close, an IV line got entangled with the cartridge and pulled it out of the patient. So with our design, as you can see, because of the low compact facepiece, front to back, side to side, and the ability to mount the cartridge in different positions, will reduce the possibility of interference with other medical devices when caring for a patient. And finally, the big question is, how long will the filters last? The CDC October update in their elastomeric rubber guidance document has made the following statement. If you're in a healthcare setting and protecting against the virus, a respirator such as ours, where the filter is encapsulated in a plastic housing, the indicators to change the filter are as follows. When it becomes difficult to breathe, which will not happen most likely when you're protecting against a particle like a virus, which I'll explain in a moment. When it becomes physically damaged, soiled, dirty, wet. Otherwise, CDC says the filters can last for up to a year. Think of what I just said, folks. Filters can last for up to a year. Now, I'm not a scientist, but I'm going to explain the life of the filter in the manner that I've come to understand of it. Think of the COVID virus particle like a snowball. So you make a snowball and you take it in the kitchen, you sit it on the kitchen table, and because of the heat, it starts to melt. What I've come to understand about the virus, virus particle, is that as it is embedded and trapped in the melt blown in the filter, it sits overnight. And what happens, as long as air can get to it, the virus loses its potency. The potency of the virus reduces. So the practice that CDC would like you to conduct if you're using a respirator of this nature, after you disinfected the respirator and disinfected the filter housing, don't remove it. What you do is you take the filters and place them in a paper bag. And what that does is overnight, the air gets to the virus. And again, I'm not a scientist, so I'm not explaining this in scientific terms. I'm trying to explain it in a manner that I understand it. But what will happen overnight is the potency of the virus will slowly start to reduce. And that's why in our N95 filters will last for a significant amount of time when protecting against a virus such as COVID. Not only will our filter save an enormous amount of cost because of reduced consumption, think of the amount of waste that we're going to save. We're going to save hundreds of thousands and millions of pounds in waste because we're not throwing the filter away. Even if you decide to change the filter once a month or once a quarter, the reduction in consumption is going to be greatly reduced. And finally, folks, when you're using a disposable respirator, there's always a calculation that hospitals and companies try to figure out is how many disposable respirators do I need per worker and per day, so they can figure out how many they need to buy. And as we've experienced, people have been using billions and billions of disposable respirators. With our solution, it's not about how many filters you need to buy, it's about how many faces you need to put our mask on. So if you have to fit 1,000 people, you simply buy 1,000 sets of our Comfort Air NX respirators with filters, and you don't have to worry about the filter changeout unless it comes to the point where you have to change the filter because of it's wet, soiled, dirty, damaged, or otherwise the CDC guidelines recommend you can use them for up to a year. Folks, we believe the Comfort Air NX series respirators is the best solution in the marketplace to help healthcare frontline workers, but also to help companies continue to work when social distancing is a challenge and protecting the workers from one another. Be safe. Thank you for listening, and take care.